All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
How are we feeling on a actually beautiful Monday here in Toronto? Beautiful Monday. The sun was out. Yeah.
Bizarro land. It's almost February, and I saw a kid on my street learning how to ride a bike. I'm like,
It's great.
it is great. I mean, it's great if we can tee it mid-March. That's when we open up. And Hayes, today I was looking in my backyard. The cats were in the back. I was out there looking at my grass, and I'm like, is my grass starting to, like, spring grow right now? I looked at it, and it was, like, getting greener. And I'm like, this is February in Bizarro land.
I love it. It really does feel like late March. You know, you get to late March, and you're like, we're within a week or two of something's really opening up.
But are we due for like a big dump?
Massive.
Like we're due for some storm
Maybe
where
two. Maybe two.
Like I just don't want that. I would have liked slow and steady, and we're fine. And it's just -8, and there's a little bit of. But it's beautiful. It's melting, and then all of a sudden, all hell's going to break loose when we don't want it to.
I have always said, give me pain in January and February.
Yes,
I accept it as a Canadian.
Yeah.
I understand it. Give me the worst weather possible. Throw everything at me. The sun can leave for 60 days. Literally leave.
Yeah.
Just darkness and a tundra and ice. But when we get to March, smarten up. And when it's April 1st, be double digits and sunny.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And then don't let us get back into that until, next November, December, January. But we'll see. It's an interesting week because you can feel the All-Star game, in town. It's starting to really percolate. They've got a lot of people are buzzing about that. The Leafs coming off a win on Saturday. But you've got, no Leaf hockey really until Matthews and Nylander and Marner and Riley, I guess, show up later in the week for the All-Star game. And you got no football for a couple of weeks now.
But there's lots to talk about.
Oh, is there a lot to talk about?
Speaking of bad weather, maybe old Danny Campbell needs some bad weather to make his decision. I will say one thing about the guy, Hazy, okay? Because everybody is torching this guy like he's the dumbest human being on the planet. I will say one thing. If he pulled it off, he's the bravest, most courageous coach to ever coach in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And even when he kicked one early, I was like, Danny boy, don't get away from your identity because you always go for that. And then he just gets destroyed. But, man, I heard Davis Sanchez say the guys in the locker room would be talking like they want him out as the coach.
Really?
What a scene for Danny Boy Campbell.
Yeah, I will say here's what became very clear to me as that game was playing out and as we got to the end of the Lions-Chiefs game.
Yeah.
There were going to be two whipping boys and there were going to be two people that we were discussing endlessly.
Yes.
If the Niners lost, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Purdy can't get it.
If the Lions lost, Dan Campbell.
Right.
And I remember proposing this question like a week or two ago, I guess to Luke, and I think we all threw it around. Like, if the Lions make it to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, who's the face of that? Was it Dan Campbell? Was it Jared Goff?
Yeah.
And we got the answer yesterday. It's Dan Campbell because Dan Campbell is at the forefront of that. And what he is, and again, it's not even driven by analytics. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the analytics. That guy's not crunching numbers.
No, he's got instinct. He's
pure bravado, and we're going to punch you in the face, and this is who we are, and we're looking for mojo and momentum. That's why he operates the way he operates. But what I will say is that there was only one situation that could play out for Dan Campbell to be in a position where people are kind of turning on him or questioning him.
And that was it?
And that was it.
Perfect storm right
having
there.
a 17-point lead at halftime and finding a way to choke it away, making bold decisions that were his decisions.
Right.
But
and
Hazy,
it got away
don't
from
you
them.
think there was a part of the game where he probably thought that he's playing, if not the most, one of the top two most sound teams in the National Football League, and maybe inside his head he thought, we got to go against the grain here because if we just want to do normal things, they're better than us, and we have to do something different. And I know how the guys, Luke, I thought he was going to start swearing with Jay last night.
He was
when
close.
he started talking about the hot tub and throwing 2 buckets of chum in it with weights and jumping in. My wife said, "You never laugh watching sports highlights." So are you like, do you have earphones or something in? I'm like, that guy's my buddy, and he just said something so
It was
outrageous.
a great analogy, though. He
It
was
was.
on fire.
It was. He was on fire. I've never seen. That's probably the best 15 minutes of a sports analyst I've ever watched because it was real. He shared the disappointment, and he's like, what the hell is going on here? But there's just a part of Dan Campbell and the Lions where I'm like, you just kind of went with what got you there. You didn't change, and it didn't work. And when it doesn't work out, you look like an ass.
Well,
end of story.
I agree. I think they got to the half, and I'll bet you they reiterated. Dan Campbell, the offensive coordinator, they said, listen, guys, we committed to going forward. And now that it's 24/7, we're not going to change it because he didn't want to get to the end of the game and lose that game and look back and say we took our foot off the pedal. Right? You got to keep pushing.
Fair.
And the fact is the two teams that are in the Super Bowl are the two most terrifying teams in the NFL. They scare the hell out of whoever they play.
Right.
The Niners did it to the Packers last week. Same thing. Packers had that game.
Yeah.
They got to the fourth quarter, and they choked it away because they just looked at the Niners and said, these guys keep going. They're better than us. We're going to fold. The Lions did the same thing last night. And in the AFC, it's the same thing with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Yeah. Teams play them, and they say they're going to get us, and they end up getting them. A lot of it, I believe, is the mental grind. That's why I think it's going to be an exceptional Super Bowl. But I loved what Luke said last night on a couple of different levels, and Luke Wilson will join us in an hour. There's all this discussion about aggression, and Luke made the point. He said after the Niners came out to start the second half, they go down the field, they put up 3 points. Yeah. If you match that and come back and also put up 3, that's aggressive.
Exactly.
Like we're here to play, man. We didn't take our foot off the gas.
Exactly.
We'll put 3 right back on the board. We're still up 17. What do you got? And that didn't end up happening. And
they had an opportunity for 3.
Yes, they did.
That was the team.
Right, you know what's crazy, guys, is
point.
coming down the final seconds ticking. I was looking at the difference in the score, and it just was like the 3. It was the difference.
Exactly.
3.
I know,
It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Of course it
because
was.
that stands out where it's like Dan Campbell's going to have, like, you know how in Sesame Street it's like 3, 3, 3, 3. He's going to be
count.
seeing 3. Yeah, the count is going to be counting 3s in his sleep.
I know. I felt sick for the guy. I felt sick for the Lions. I was rooting for the Lions because I thought it would have been an incredible 2 weeks building up to the Super Bowl. But as I was saying earlier, like leading up to that game, I saw the stat. It was scrolling on TSN last night that for the first time since 1957, the Lions won multiple playoff games. 1957, not 1967, 1957. So again, prior to that game, it was 100% unanimous. Dan Campbell's the man.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I love his story. Lions fans are puffing their chest out. I honestly believe if they got blown out 40-0 yesterday, it's still 100% unanimous. We love Dan Campbell.
Right.
The only reason
you honestly
why
think there's some conversation saying this guy can't lead us to the promised land?
Listen, I'm not even saying that, and I think that would be silly. I think he's the man there. He's going to be there for a long time. He deserves to be. But he opened the door to detractors last night, which I thought was almost impossible. Like for him to have, it was the same thing with Mahomes. If Mahomes lost yesterday, no one's like, well, maybe he's not that great.
Right.
Like Campbell they win the NFC North. They win multiple playoff games.
Yeah.
Again, everything was like amazing. If you lose, you lose. The Niners are the best.
Yeah.
Whatever. But when you go up 24-7, and then you start making calls like we're going for it here.
Dude, let's just put it into overdrive.
The spotlight goes on Dan Campbell.
And fill in the rest of the sentence for me, Hayes. He walked into that stadium yesterday with crispy white Calvin Kleins. And he did not fly home with the same pair.
No, they were in the garbage can right after the game.
They were crisp and tight and white, and he didn't fly home with the same pair.
No, but I like watching his media afterward, like watching him if you look at his face at halftime, like he's dialed in.
Yeah,
and
he's ready.
afterwards, he's got the hat pulled down. His nose was as red as I've ever seen. I don't know what happened. Did he get like a ball in the face or something?
He was pissed.
Frostbite.
One thing I don't understand is
it was frostbite or something.
The coach in the National Football League, and I'm sure Luke would say the same thing. They command a lot of respect, and they're the guy that makes the calls. But there's a lot of people in life and in business that always say, like, don't make yourself the smartest guy in the room. Always have people around you to kind of support you and maybe steer you off in a direction or maybe steer you from going off the cliff. And one of the guys I thought, Luke was a part of a situation with Seattle where it cost him the Super Bowl. Like, why isn't Russ Wilson going up to Pete Carroll saying, don't even think about this play? Are you nuts? We're running the ball. We're handing it to Marshawn Lynch. Why isn't Jerry Goff going up and saying, I'm not sure about this. What the hell are we doing? Or better yet, an assistant coach who he's trusted, like to say, this is just not the play. It's not the play, and I'll take the fall for this one. I don't know. It's like you got to have somebody to talk you off the cliff, and he didn't have anybody.
But are his assistant coaches yes men, or are they contrarians where they're going?
Well, dude, who knows? But don't you have one guy, Hayes, in your life that says maybe we can't do this, man? And he might have shrugged it off.
Again, I think I think what Dan Campbell is also doing. This is the nature of a head coach in the NFL. When you become bigger than life, and that's what he is.
Yeah,
he's bigger than life. He found a way to do something that I thought was impossible. I've goofed on a lot of teams. Right. This show's been around for a while. The Lions are real close to the top of a team that I don't even discuss. That's in the past. I'm so arrogant as a Packer fan. I'm like, they're not in the running.
Not
relevant. They don't win.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell has changed all of that. That in and of itself is an incredible achievement. But I think you got a scenario there where he is taking a lot of heat away from guys that deserve criticism, right? Like that drop. Yeah. Jared Goff got it off. The line protected well. It was a good call.
Yeah.
The receiver dropped it. Like, that's in his hands. He's got to catch that ball. Jameer Gibbs has been unbelievable. Great rookie. That's a fumble that goes the other way. That's not Dan Campbell. And the miracle that went off the cornerback's head in Ayuk caught, that's a once-in-a-million play. Yeah. That's the immaculate reception. Yeah. Like, that's just something you could never predict. So it's not like it was all Campbell. But when you're the man and when you're the guy leading the charge and you're the one doing the interviews saying, I got a plan and believe me and we're going to be tough and we're going to go for it, and then it blows up in your face, you're going to take the most heat. And that's where Dan Campbell stands today.
Was that catch, was it Edelman that made that like unique catch for the Patriots?
Yes, well, there was almost bounced off the floor against Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
Remember, it bounced, it hit,
right.
And he caught it. Like that's what reminded me. Like last night watching that, I'm like, that is a 1 in a million. Like, that's where it's going right for San Francisco.
Well, it's again, the immaculate reception. Franco Harris, Steelers against the Raiders, I think it was. Like, that won them the game, I believe, and got them to a Super Bowl. This is different. But, and the other side of it, too, like, as good as Mahomes was in the first half yesterday, that's just unbelievable. Like, him and Kelsey.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy was just as good in the second half yesterday. Yeah, like, Purdy was unbelievable in the second half.
I don't care how good he played yesterday, and he's a game manager, and his teammate Bosa stuck up for him, said he's the best game manager in the world. I'm not betting on that guy against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl any day of the week. I don't care if the spread was 20. I'm not taking Purdy over Mahomes. I'm not kidding, man. I'm not taking that guy over Mahomes. He got the job done against Danny Campbell's decision-making.
Yeah.
He is not beating Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
I hear you.
I would bet my life on it.
Mahomes is a freak of nature, and on FanDuel, I want to say it opened at like 2.5. It's been bet down to 1.5. Like the Niners are a 1.5-point favorite. That line is going to move.
So it's going to pick. But it's pretty much a pick.
It's basically a pick 'em, and I think that's probably where it ends up. Because I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. How do you bet against Mahomes? Like, how do you bet against him as a dog? Like, or ever? All the guy does is show up and perform and win.
That organization and that team, and this does not show up on a stat, which probably drives the nerds crazy, but like the get it done factor with that team and that player and that quarterback and that defensive coordinator, like that defense yesterday was outrageously good.
Yes.
You can talk about Mahomes being clutch, but they put Lamar into a pretzel and said, not today, man. You're just not doing it. You're not throwing it. You're not running it. You're not doing anything.
They were unreal.
But the ability to get it done, it's like that's the separator, man. That play right there, who makes that play right there? Not many guys.
No, that is, I mean, they just had an unbelievable game plan, and I thought the Ravens unraveled. They were really undisciplined. The stupidity of before the game, the kicker messing with Mahomes. Are you nuts?
I know.
Like, have you been around sports? You're trying to mess with Mahomes?
Like, you're poking a bear.
Yeah. Like, I could not believe. I get Justin Tucker, maybe the greatest kicker ever. It's his stadium. But are you insane?
Insane.
Like, if Mahomes is standing there, I'm shocked someone like Harbaugh didn't grab him by the collar and say, get the hell out of here. You're playing mind games with Mahomes. Yeah. And look at the way Mahomes performed in the first half. It was outrageous how good he was.
And we've got 2.5 weeks more of T Swifties.
And I'm telling you right now, she'll be going Tokyo to Vegas. She will be there. Lock it in.
I don't think so, man.
100%.
I think she says, I love you, but I can't go Tokyo, Vegas, back to Japan.
She's doing it. I'm telling you right now, she's doing. She might even move one of her shows or like delay. Like I think there's something.
That I could see if she just says, sorry, folks, I got to move a date. I got to go to the Super Bowl. I think everybody would be understanding.
That's definitely not true.
No, not everybody.
If you have tickets,
There's people in Japan who do not care.
They could not care
whatsoever about Travis Kelce catching some balls in the.
You
NFL.
paid a
I'm
fortune.
kind of at first I was like, man, this is a little bit much showing her all the time. And I'm kind of into it now. It's like an NFL love story. I'm kind of into it.
Look at you. All right.
Hazy, are you into it?
Listen, you know what it's done? Is it sparks a different debate every week between my wife and I. And last night we had a debate of who was.
Let me hear this one. What was her comment?
Here was the question. All right, and it's generally me.
Let me guess. She said, "Is she flying home on the team plan?"
Well, we went through that. I told you last week. I already had that established. My wife went through the whole details as if she was working for Expedia. She's like, yeah, you get out of there at 11 p.m. Tokyo time, let's say an hour. Like, she had it all mapped out. She had it figured out that she's going Tokyo, Vegas, and then back to, like, Brisbane or something. I think it's Australia.
She's not flying Air Canada.
Exactly. She's not middle seat, like,
As much
crossover in
as you
Hamburg.
love a guy and as much as she's a big deal, I don't think she's doing that.
Dude, it'd be a shock if she's not there. I think it's a lock. Some people are calling... And this is
a prop bet. I'm telling you, this is going to be a bet.
She'll be there. She'll 100% be there. But here is what some people are debating. And this is a bridge too far. And this would be so corny. They win the Super Bowl, and he pops the question on the field. 50-yard line, Kelce and Swift. Would you put money on that?
I'll put money on that.
Would you put money on that?
Because I read probably page 6 or something online saying he's been behind the scenes talking about they've been planning their engagement.
Although if she said no on the 50-yard line,
this guy's not winning the Super Bowl. What do you think he's going to stand up and be like, you got to fight for your, and then just kneel down?
Exactly. Absolutely. You got to fight for your right to get engaged.
Was that the debate? Because I'm in on that.
Yeah, no, that was not the debate. We got 2 weeks. That one will come up.
That one's coming up.
It was a fairly routine, probably evergreen topic that's been going around for a while. But we were talking about Mahomes, and I was like, man, this guy, like, he might be he's not greater than Brady. Like, the amount of slander towards Brady right now, to me, is absurd.
That's
like,
insane.
This guy won a Super Bowl 3 years ago when he was 43. And then I'm seeing these debates, and it's like, well, in a one-game take-all, it happened twice, and Brady beat him both times. Yes. Brady went to Arrowhead and beat him, and in the Super Bowl beat him. We literally have access to information. Brady beating Mahomes.
Yeah.
But it was, Mahomes, I think, is clearly the best player going right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you say that about, Taylor Swift in her field, pop music? We were getting into the Beatles, Elvis, greater than Michael Jackson, all that kind of stuff.
Michael Jackson right now.
Right.
He's that big. I will say that, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't.
There's no right or wrong answer. I mean,
you're right about the Brady talk. I find it ridiculous. My buddy texted me yesterday, and he says, if Mahomes gets this one, does that make him better than Brady? I'm like, that will be his 3rd Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
Brady has 7.
He's got 7.
What the
He's
hell
been to
are we
10.
even talking about? And it goes back to my GOAT conversation. Everyone is so horny to say, this guy's the GOAT. That guy's way better than the last guy. It's like, you just mentioned it. Brady's only gone 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or a couple years ago.
He retired last year.
Yes, he's been out of the league 1 year, and we're already dumping on him saying,
right.
Like, it's almost like they're looking at, now the slander is going to start. It's like, Brady couldn't even run. Brady was slow. And it's crazy stuff.
But we witnessed it
for
years.
His 3rd Super Bowl.
Greatness for years.
Well, that's it. And it is, we're prisoners of the moment.
Right.
I can reason with the argument that you think Mahomes, like, in and of himself, is the greatest player you've ever seen in terms of talent, arm strength, creativity, mobility. The same thing happens with McDavid. We have the same chat. McDavid's the greatest ever. Okay, he's greater than Gretzky. Well, some people would argue that because he can skate better.
Right.
He's cerebral. What he's doing in his era, whatever.
Era adjusted.
Exactly.
All of that. Yeah.
Like okay, you can have that argument. I'll stand there right with you, and I'm not going to dispute that. But Brady did it for 20, and as clutch as Mahomes is, this guy was equally as clutch, if not more. And I would argue he went through guys that actually won. I think the topic of discussion in the NFL today should be who is going to step up and challenge this guy. Forget past players.
Right.
Like, if you look at Brady, he had to compete against Peyton Manning, who won who won 2 Super Bowls, went to 3.
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls, went to 3. Breeze won 1. Rodgers won 1. Russ won 1 and went to 2. Who else am I missing here? Yeah, Russ, Breeze, Rodgers, Manning, Big Ben. Like, those are guys that got there and won. When is Lamar going to do that? When is Josh Allen going to do that?
Burrow.
Joe Burrow, he got to 1 and he lost.
Right.
Who else? Herbert, the guy doesn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, who is going to challenge
Kurt
this guy?
in Minnesota.
Exactly. But like, he's in his 30s. Stafford, I don't think counts, who won a couple of years ago. But he's not in the same age bracket. Like, Brady had to go up against Manning and Roethlisberger and Breeze and Rodgers and Russ.
That's murderer's row right there.
Exactly. And who's going to do that with Mahomes?
The easy answer is that Joey Burrow is healthy next year, and he's the guy that has the moxie and the stones to pull it off. He's already beaten him once in a massive game.
Will Burrow have the team to do it?
That's the question.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid and Kelsey, man. That's Travis Kelsey in big games.
I was just going to say, this Andy Reid.
Freak. He's unbelievable.
Coach winners.
He's unbelievable.
And he doesn't worry about, how things look or whatever. He's not biting kneecaps and doing all that.
Just goes about his business.
Wants his burgers. That's what he
exactly. He wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
Wants to have a good time. All right. We got a big week coming up.
Yeah.
We should announce this. We kind of did on Friday, but that was a soft launch.
It was a soft launch on Friday when
this is the grand
opening.
opening.
Soft launch that no one wanted us to do.
Yeah, this is the grand opening.
Exactly.
OverDrive is kicking off the NHL All-Star Weekend with a live broadcast this Thursday at Boston Pizza.
Yes.
And we want you to be in the audience, all right? If you text the keyword OverDrive and your name to 105050, text the keyword OverDrive and your name to 105050 and tell us your favorite OverDrive moment for your chance to win 2 VIP seats to watch the show live. We're going to randomly select 10 winners on Wednesday to be part of this exclusive VIP event brought to you by FanDuel. Contest rules available at tsn1050.ca. So with the Super Bowl match confirmed, now's your chance to back. Well, we'll get to that later. That's another read. I'm just continuing to read. We have 45,000 reads, and I just burgundied myself. We have another
Burgundy.
We have another cool announcement that I'm going to announce when Luke is on. Like a really, really cool announcement that will build up to the Super Bowl.
That'll be great.
All right, so text your name and the word OverDrive to 105050. Tell us why you have a favorite OverDrive moment. Your chance to win 2 VIP tickets. Boston Pizza downtown, down on front, brought to you by FanDuel. So we can't wait. It's going to be awesome on Thursday.
It will be great.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
It's going to be awesome, just like the guy that I saw in the parking lot today who had a little message for me.
Okay, come back with that. I want to play this and I want to address it. I didn't say anything online. All right, we're going to play your little video and we'll explain what we allegedly saw happen earlier this morning.
I'll come clean and I'll break it down exactly how it happened.
Okay, I want a full breakdown. We'll get to that. Some people point out Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls.
Oh, that's right.
That's another guy that was in the Brady area, and he beat him twice.
Yeah.
We'll get to your video that you saw this morning or you shot this morning.
It might have been staged.
Possibly.
I'll break it down exactly what went down.
Okay.
And the guy follows us. He's a fan. So
all right.
If you want to call him to get confirmed, I don't know the guy from a hole in the wall. So
okay.
He'll confirm it.
We'll figure that out. And the Leafs have hit the break. Yeah. And they went out in style with a big win on Saturday night. We'll look back on that game, look ahead to their All-Star week, and what comes of the rest of the season for the Leafs. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. So there you have it. Text us 105050 with your name, the keyword OverDrive, your favorite OverDrive moment. We're going to be down at Boston Pizza on Thursday. We're looking forward to that. Our friends at FanDuel will be down there, All-Star weekend. And maybe you can bring your new buddy, right? You're out. I saw Jerry D brought up a great point. Did you buy one tire?
No, there's not even it's a rug. Like it's a 3x4 rug that you put at your front door. There's no tire.
Because it looked like a tire. It looked like he was walking around with one tire, which is what I would expect.
Yeah.
I got a big day today. I got to go buy a tire.
No, I don't. I
did
not.
a nail in it and just takes it off and puts
a
new one on.
No.
Yeah.
Do you have the video? Do we have it to play it? Or
do we have it, Doogie? Yeah, we got it. All right. Do you want to? Why don't we play it?
Let me play this and then I'll explain.
This is a fraud.
Another one.
That does look like a tire in there, too.
It's a tire. 100% it's a tire.
It's not a tire. I'll show you. It didn't fit. It's not big enough, so I got to bring it back. I'll show you the stupid rug. But as I was walking back to my car, that white car drove by me and said, Hayes is a fraud. And he had to stop because he was waiting. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you wheel around again and do it again so I can get that on tape? And he goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. So he spun around again, and I hit video, and I gave him the wave, and he had to do it. It happens all the time, and he's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, like, listen, I saw Johnny jumped in there with a quote tweet. He's like, it's an epidemic. It's happening across the country. People in Edmonton are yelling at MJ and Gord that Hayes is a fraud.
In a gritty little mall.
Mm-hmm.
Noodles, you know that mall that he was in.
Yeah. It's at Eaton Center downtown. There's some things happening there because there's some tough living right now around there.
Oh, yeah. But it happens everywhere. Everywhere, Hayes is a fraud.
Gord told me this story the other day because MJ kind of took some of the color out of it. Apparently, the guy who was young, they turned around, the guy had no pants on.
Dude, that
guy's walking around with no pants on. What living room is he?
How is he? Imagine him. Yeah, like, is he a podcast guy with no pants on in Edmonton?
It is minus 40 out. So they turned around and there's like, apparently there was some gritty characters.
And I'm the fraud. This guy's got no pants on, and he's got a strong take.
Absolutely waxed at 3 in the afternoon. But Hayes is the fraud.
I need to assassinate this guy's character. He's
awesome.
A fraud. But you have no pants on. Sir, this is a Wendy's.
He's watching OverDrive on a walkie-talkie in the mall. Hammered.
That's wild.
There was some, because Gord's really good at setting the scene. He's like, oh, no, we were walking. There was a guy who turned around. There's another guy with no pants on. And I was like, what? Yeah. That just kind of slides through. But
that's our
I
fan
had it
base,
said
man.
to me. I went and saw a live band, Horseshack, on the weekend at this bar called the Lynn's Tavern or something. I got to look it up. Awesome. Mm-hmm. But the guy walks by me. Swear to God, like, I'm 52. He's probably in my age, like 55 or whatever. Goes, Hayes is a fraud. And I was like, what?
It's
like,
honestly,
it's like a greeting now.
It's a term of endearment.
It's like, hi, I'm a fan of OverDrive. They don't say that. They just say Hayes is a fraud.
That's basically how the guy said it. He's like, Hayes is a fraud. He goes, love the show.
Yeah.
Like, great.
Dude, I'm telling you, I have experienced it myself. I've been at the game, like walking through the Scotiabank Arena with my wife, my kids, and people, hey, he's a fraud. Hey, man, what's up? Can I get a picture? I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
You just said I'm a fraud in front of 1,000 people. But sure. Yeah, it's a term of endearment. I wear it like a badge of honor. At this point, why not? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
O's buying tires and people are yelling out, I'm a fraud. And it's all good.
And a guy with no pants
on.
yelling at Gord and MJ.
That I did not know that part. That detail was lacking. I had not heard that part of it.
The whole story is
pretty
pretty
frauds,
funny.
guys.
Yeah.
What I saw in Winnipeg on Saturday night, those refereeing calls, that is lunacy what I saw on Saturday night. The Tavares one might have been the King Daddy topper. First, there's the Nylander one, but this one here, he slashes his stick and then says, ref, watch this, and breaks it on the ice, and the ref's hand goes up.
I've never seen anything like that.
I have never seen that in all of my time in hockey, and I don't know what the hell's going on with these refs, but they better smarten up. They're not reffing hockey games. There's no old school feel. Billy McCreary, Noodles, I'm sure you would agree that he's the best ref of all time.
Yeah, I love
He
Billy.
would want no part of this, and he's a supervisor now. I have no idea what he has to say to these guys, but there is so much garbage going on. And what about the review system? William Nylander gets pushed into the net by the defenseman whenever I'm on a panel and this situation happens. And I'm not the best at breaking down rules and stuff like that, but I only look at one thing. How did he get to the goaltender? And that viz clearly shows DeMello pushed him into the net. And they said goalie interference? Are these guys high? What the hell's going on here? That's insanity, man. You can't screw that stuff. What if this happens in Game 7 of a playoff series?
Going to. We talk about it all the time. pass interference, goalie interference, it's just subjective, right? Like it really is.
Yep.
Please tell me you guys are on board with that goalie interference being insane.
I said defense refs years ago. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a wasted time because you have no idea. They come back, this one doesn't count. The next night, that one counts. There's no rhyme or reason for it. They have no idea why they pick one or the other. Well,
it's the best league in the world. Fix it because it's garbage.
I
it's
agree.
trash.
I thought that I'm glad you brought the Tavares one up. I wasn't even going to go there because I was like, did I just see that? Like him snap his stick 3 seconds after and show the ref, hey, it's broken. Well, you just leaned on it, snapped it, and get the call. And then I was like, okay, I get it. That people would argue, well, the integrity of the stick was taken away with the slash. Probably, but it's still, you could still probably play with it. And at that point, he snaps it and goes. Like, I thought both of them were really weird calls. The goalie interference, the only way I could counter.
No, Noodles, you're not countering.
What I'm saying is Nylander didn't make any attempt after the push to try and avoid the goalie.
Because he pushed him again. If you watch Nylander closely, he gives it to him once, and then he gives it to him right there again. He can't move out of the way.
Well,
anyone that thinks that is goalie interference, check yourself, because you're dead wrong, and that is lunacy. And I don't even care who gets the power play, but you can't have refs pulling this garbage. It's the best league in the world, and it's hard enough to get wins. You can't have it. That Tavares play, my God.
I agree. I thought it was a goal. I thought that would have been.
You're not alone. We all agree, but the refs didn't. So you can't say that it should be. It is a goal because it's not, according to the game sheet. I guess they walked around. I couldn't understand it either. I thought it was ridiculous that they pulled it back. In the end, it didn't matter. The Tavares one is way more significant, and all I could think of in the moment is every other fan in the league that is not a Leaf fan,
Leafs call,
is going to reference that for the rest of time because there's been this theory, even though, again, this team hasn't won a cup in 55 years, yet the league is really trying to help them out. Like, if you actually think this through and you think the Leafs are getting propped up, then you've lost your mind because they wouldn't be going through the history they've been going through. But there is a belief, again, it's completely bogus, but the Leafs get the calls. And the refs are in Toronto, and the home office is in Toronto, and they go to Toronto, and the PA's there, and that is the most absurd penalty call I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything remotely close to that.
And that's happened in Toronto sometimes, Hayes. That narrative where it was like there was a play this year. It might have been the Florida Panthers in town. I'm not 100% sure. But after the game, the coaches and the players were like, that's what happens in Toronto. Yep. And it's just like, what the hell are you talking about?
But that is adding fuel to that fire. The conspiracy theory goes wild with that. And I can't even argue against that in a moment because I've never seen anything like that.
I honestly can't take that even seriously.
You're right.
No, I'm not saying it's legit, but it's
out
there.
I know.
Right.
It's out there.
That narrative will be there because everyone outside of Toronto will go, that's a Toronto call.
Exactly.
There it is. Tavares broke a stick and made the call himself, and they had to call it. You're right. They haven't won a cup, and it's not like the league has created a clear path for them to win the cup. But that one was a favorable call in that situation, so that's exactly what it's like. Oh, they got that call. We see it all the time, though. McDavid will get a call, or, and people will point to it. Well, it's because it's McDavid. Yeah, well, sometimes it is because of McDavid. Sometimes it is because of Matthews or whatever. The star players deserve a little bit of, star treatment. But that call was just a weird one. It was delayed. Call, it was a very delayed. And I could understand what the ref is going, well, it did break the integrity of the stick. But it was like 5 seconds later, 3 seconds later.
You got to make that call in the moment.
Immediately,
and you didn't, so you got to let it go.
Yeah, I agree.
And they didn't in the end.
Never in my day.
It was a weird one.
It was really weird. And I'm telling you, the conspiracy theorists, it's just, you're never going to hear the end of that from Habs fans, Sens fans, Oiler fans. Oh, yeah, John Tavares broke his own stick, got a call 5 seconds later. Only in Toronto.
Bonkers.
Only in Toronto can you get that.
Let's get to the positives of it. They've Samsonov, Noodles, I do not know when you declare a guy back, but those are 3 pretty impressive performances for that guy to get it back on track. What they do after the All-Star break, maybe Wall's coming close to being healthy. That's a problem. You kick down the road for a little bit. But that's a great story for him coming back. John Tavares getting on the board. I think you said before the game, this guy needs to come out of this with something. And he got it. Maybe he can get going. And it's like, I find with these guys, and we talk about them so much, and we break them down, and we're critical. I find once they get to to a certain point, they just prove everybody wrong, and they just get trucking again. So hopefully they do that because they needed it, and they played with some urgency. There is, but they played with some urgency. They had some jump. The right guys got it. Their best players got 40 goals going into the All-Star game. So there's a lot of positives for right now heading into the break. If
there was 3 storylines we would have talked about on Tuesday, we probably did. Samsonov making saves, Matthews getting to 40 or whatever, but hopefully by the break, and Tavares getting a point or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Check.
So Samsonov is the most, Matthews aside, Samsonov is the most intriguing for me.
Well, Noodles, when do you make the assessment and say we're quite confident he's back, or do you not even touch that and just let him continue to try to prove it daily?
You're asking me, let me ask you both, from fans and from analyst standpoint, when do you trust? Because
I don't trust it until I see it for a month.
But that's what I'm saying.
Minimum.
Exactly. But what happens is it could be a month. So say it's 10 games. You got this massive run. 11th game, it goes south. What do you think?
Here's how I would answer that. I can't give you a true assessment on how I'll be feeling, or I will have a better answer for you the game after he has a bad game, because that's coming. He's a human being.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. He's going to get shelled one night, not because it was, he wasn't confident or whatever. It's just things are going to go wrong for him. The next start will be a massive indicator.
Right.
Because early in the season, when that happened, it just got worse. It was like, this guy's a mess. He's lost it. If he comes back after his next poor start and looks solid and confident and plays well, I think you'll have your answer. I think that's when you'll start to suggest this guy has found it again. And it was, I credit him. I really do. And I credit the Leafs for having a plan. No one really knew what it was.
Right.
But it was get him through waivers, get him away from the team. He's not going to play. And then we're going to bring him back and reset, and we're going to ease him in, and then we're going to give him a chance to have a little bit more leeway. And it played out basically check. Like full credit to the Leafs for that, for having that plan, sticking to that plan, and as of now executing that plan. And I'll say this too, looking back on where we were a couple weeks ago, and this gets back to what you were saying, about how right when you think they're going one way, they go the other way. These last 6 games, that was probably the toughest 6-game stretch of the season, or real close to it. Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Seattle, Winnipeg.
Right.
They went 4-2. Game was tied in the third in Edmonton. Game was tied in the third in Vancouver. Not perfect, but still 4-2 is a good run in that stretch. It's a good run.
Ugly.
And all of a sudden, you know what they've done is they started winning games in regulation. No more, they're right there with San Jose and wins in regulation. And I think they're up to 20 now, which, again, is not anything to write home about. Doesn't win you anything. You don't get a banner.
Yeah.
But they did win games. They did close games in regulation. They did have a couple of leads that they closed. That's significant, right? Like Winnipeg, they were up, they closed the door. Calgary, they were up, they closed the door. Seattle, they were up, they closed the door. Remember, 2 weeks ago, it was these guys find a way to blow leads.
Yeah.
They did it in Edmonton. The first game on the trip, they were up 2-0.
Yep.
They ended up losing in reg. So, they deserve credit for a really tough stretch where they played pretty well and they found a way to get points. And
now you got to continue that.
Now you got to continue that. You reset.
I think going back to the Samsonov thing, I think there's 2 ways you can look at it too. Is you've got him playing. Is Martin Jones at some point when Wall comes back, does he go on waivers? And do you worry that you might lose him? That's another question.
I'd be surprised if you didn't at this point. Like, how could a team that is struggling not claim him as a backup at this point?
So now it's a roster spot. Do you have to keep 3, or do you move one of them? And if it's a trust situation, are you building Samsonov off to feel really good about himself, and then you move that player and for a lateral move? Like, there's lots of decisions to be made in that position still, because I would argue today, if you had a starting, if playoffs were starting right now, is it Samsonov is starting? Because it was Jones last week that we were talking about.
Well, and it was Joseph Wall a month and a half ago. Like, they still got to figure that position out from a trust standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of watching him, trusting him, Noodles.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when the timeline when he actually gets out of, but watching him, Noodles, you don't watch golf Hayes, it's going to be like watching Billy Zalatoris on the putting. It's always going to be like, wow, he usually has trouble with it. Or Lucas Glover, even though he's got that long putter and he's improved his putting, it's like he's got a 5-footer. You're like, what's going to happen here with this guy with this putt? And it's probably going to be like that watching Samsonov in the future.
Yeah,
where
until it's not. He either plays himself,
exactly.
He plays himself back into that trust factor for everybody, or he plays himself out of it and they move past him and go, Joseph Wall and Marty Jones are our guys. So, there's still time's going to tell, but the team playing better in front of him helps, too.
Absolutely, for sure. Something to chew on coming up on the second half of the Leafs. We'll get to that. Luke Wilson in about 20 minutes. His take on the 2 games yesterday. We'll start looking ahead to the Super Bowl as well with Luke. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Something to Chew On is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at Boston Pizza, get delicious, mouth-watering pastas starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at prices you just can't miss. Hustle into your local BP tonight. We announced earlier this hour we'll be down at Boston Pizza on Front Thursday night. We're going to be down there. We can't wait.
I will love it.
It's going to be great. We're asking the question today, as the Leafs enter the All-Star break, what is the team's biggest storyline going into the second half? So we're anticipating what we're going to talk about the most. Matthews' 70-goal chase, goaltending carousel, trade deadline priorities, or other, and you can write in at OverDrive 1050. As of now, it's pretty close. Matthews chasing 70s at 43%.
I would say trade deadline.
That's where you're going?
Oh, my God. They need 3 players, maybe 4 players to be a team that'll get over the top. You even said that a week ago.
Yes, I understand
They're not
that.
1 or 2 pieces away from doing anything. They're 3 or 4.
I understand what you're saying. I think there's no wrong answer here. I think we're going to be talking about all of them. I would say it's the goaltending, though, because I think everything else is irrelevant if your goaltending's a mess.
Yeah.
And it hasn't
I know, but
been.
if you're talking about storylines, a guy chasing 70 goals, it doesn't even come close to goaltending. No disrespect, Noodles, but 70 goals.
Yeah, but if he's on a team that's 14th or 16th in the league, and they don't get past the first round, what does 70 get you? Nothing. Gets you the.
I understand if he gets 70 goals and they miss the playoffs in some miraculous way, then all will be forgotten. But a guy getting 70 goals, it's a pretty big storyline.
Again, there's no wrong answer here. This is not pitting options against each other. It's interesting. We all see it differently, though, and we're all pretty adamant. Like, for me, the goaltending, like if Samsonov, if he reverts back to where he was last year, if this is the real deal and this guy keeps playing and drags them into the playoffs and is the number 1 guy, that'll be a story that is, like, that's a story.
Well, it's a reclamation project.
Dude.
The guy was on waivers.
That's what I'm saying. That's Alec Manoah, only we liked the ending. Manoah got sent back to the minors and just didn't show up.
Right.
Like, if that guy pulls it off.
Now,
but yeah,
he is jacked. He's jacked.
Yeah.
Shout out to Manoah. I'm not disputing any of that. I think they're all realistic options right now. Like Matthews ripping home 40 the other night. Like this guy's got 40, and it's not even February yet. It's not even the All-Star game, and he's got 40. Like it is absurd, and I don't think you can doubt this guy. Like, I don't see 70. That just seems like a crazy number to even suggest.
Yeah.
Something we haven't seen since Solani and McGillney did it back in the early 90s. And they hit 76. They didn't just get to 70. They were basically Sosa and McGuire, like back and forth.
Yeah.
But this guy could score 30 goals in 35 games.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he could do that.
I mean, it's a realistic chase. My whole thing is, I guess I was just thinking bigger.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
You're wanting this team to do something, not just the guy hit 70 and, hey, you know what, like nobody else dragged him out. Like,
well, let me throw this out, and I hate to go here because it's Positive Monday. Positive Monday.
Would you trade
Here
this?
We go.
No.
Here we go.
What do you got?
Here we go.
Leafs missed the playoffs in Game 81. They're eliminated. Game 82, he scores 70. What happens?
What do you mean? What happened?
What's the reaction in the building? Are people jacked? Is it standing O? Is it
like you're
think
taking
the
us down a
reaction
dark
is
path?
I know.
What the hell?
That's
are you
a
doing
really
here?
dark. I'm saying
Right.
it's Positive Monday. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
The reaction would be crazy because everyone would be so disappointed, and they're like, it's great. You got 70 goals.
All right, let's not even go there. Take
but-
that out of the podcast. Take that out of the podcast.
Scratch it.
Game 82, is at home, the building's half full.
That's
because
the
people
dumbest
are pissed
thing
that
you've
they
ever
missed the
said on the
playoffs.
show.
Well, listen,
this is an
I-
awful comment.
Right?
You could be right, or people are going to show up and really let them know that they're not happy.
That's,
Game 82.
that's fair.
I'm
But
not willing that into existence. I'm not. I don't want to go there.
Think about that one, but there you go. You're starting to.
I'm not going there.
He planted a seed of doubt.
I'm just saying that 70 is wild. And I
70 is
hope it's
wild.
incredibly positive. Hopefully, he's just cruising towards 70, and it's all good.
How about this Reinhardt kid at 37?
Yeah. How many? He's got like 30 on the power play.
Yeah,
It's wild how many.
one-timer
he's
spot.
an assassin. Like he's playing that like bumper.
And he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
You never know. Noodles, maybe he'll wait and see and sign back with Florida.
He might.
Never know.
Yeah,
Never know.
You never
Right.
know. You never know.
What's his? Is that his career high? I got to look.
Has
here.
to
Oh,
be.
God, yeah.
Has to be.
Well, no, he had 33 a couple of years ago in 78 games. He got 37 and 49.
Wow. Yeah, he's been unreal. Florida is a fun team to watch too, man.
Dude,
They
tell you,
fight
man.
and hit and chirp.
Did
And,
you see that? There was a
Yeah.
huge fight the other night. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
they
couple of brawls. And
played
they're
for
sticking up for Nick Cousins, and the whole league hates Nick Cousins.
Yeah.
Which I have an appreciation for because they're like, I don't care if you don't like him. We love him. He's our guy.
Exactly.
That's right.
We're going to fight for him.
How do you think me and Noodles feel every day?
That's uncalled
really
for.
tough.
That's uncalled. I'll be the Nick Cousins of Toronto sports if I have to.
Really? Agitator,
Cousins?
hitting people from behind. And
Just
Just dirty
Absolute.
knee shots and
Yeah.
everything.
sure. Why not? I'll take that on the chin if I have to. Take one for the team. I'm a team player. All right, hour 2 coming up. Luke Wilson will join us. Back on what we saw yesterday. The Chiefs and the Niners are meeting in the Super Bowl. We'll get into it with Luke. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Never know.